welcome everybody to joining me on my second broadcast of Gaming in the Dark. Today's game I actually got right next to me is pretty much Fall Guys. And I think it fits this topic that I wanted to talk about tonight. But before I go on, definitely if you're new here, please subscribe and join our community. I like to talk about gaming news, nostalgic games mostly, bringing them in today's world, specifically featuring Shenmue. And tonight's topic is about Shenmue and its legacy when it comes to budget in itself and questioning how could it possibly be successful, especially when oh, there's my little beeper alarm that I had last time. I gotta remember to turn that thing off. Anyway, so how successful can it be with its limited budget? Now, here's a little bit of history before I get into, sorry, I don't want to hit the microphone again, but here's a little bit of history before I get into elaborating on this subject. So Shenmue is a game, if you're new here or new to Shenmue community, Shenmue is a game that came out in Japan in the late 90s, but early 2000s in the US and Europe. Shenmue at the time was one of the most, if not the most expensive video game ever developed. Specifically speaking, in combination between Shenmue 1 and Shenmue 2. Now, the budgets for both of those games combined was well over $40 million. But until then, there was no video game that actually reflected that type of budget and that cost that much. And a lot of that cost went to a lot of the research and development that went into that game. Now, Shenmue itself was originally being developed for the Sega Saturn, and they developed a lot of that engine for the Sega Saturn and the graphics and the storyline. But then Saturn was quickly left in the dust, and it went on to Dreamcast. And then they had to pretty much start from scratch for the Dreamcast on this budget. And Sega was putting everything that they had into the Shenmue series. So that over $40 million budget, some say 46 million, but inflation and whatever, it's into the 70 millions. But that was for the development of both games, and that was the whole process from like getting research, taking pictures of places in China and Japan, and then putting the whole engine together and starting from scratch, building an open world, really the first true open world game that was really dense, that you can really pick up like little items ever created, with a bunch of mini games and everything else. So the game sounds amazing, right? With the large budget that it had, though it created a large millions of fans out there, a large community of fans that appreciate the Shenmue series itself, the budget itself didn't exactly return a profit. It didn't generate, more was invested into the game than was made out of it. So a large legend for the original Shenmue that's talked about a lot is that each Dreamcast owner would have had to have purchased the original Shenmue twice in order for the development team to make the money back from that project. So a lot of money went in, and if you go to an average gamer today and say the word Shenmue, and let's be honest with ourselves, besides our community, go to a random person and say, hey, have you ever heard of the game Shenmue? It's awesome. What's that, right? But then you go to a person who's not even a gamer, and then you say, hey, have you heard of the game Grand Theft Auto? Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I never play it because I don't like violent video games or something like that. But they've at least heard of it. It's become a household name, where Shenmue obviously has not. But you, at this point, now it's Grand Theft Auto, specifically Grand Theft Auto 5, that has become the most expensive video game out there, but it's definitely made its money hand over fist. So in that game's perspective, it totally made sense to make the investment because you know you're going to generate the profit. Shenmue, after the unsuccessful launch of Shenmue 1 and Shenmue 2, particularly from a profit standpoint, it didn't make sense to start up a Shenmue 3 without at least making it more enticing for new fans. And that's why throughout the Shenmue history, you can see that there were times where Shenmue was actually going to be a Shenmue 3, but next generation hardware. And then that scratched, and then it was going to be Shenmue Online because gaming industry thought, well, it's definitely going to be online gaming is going to be the next big thing. We're going to see online games, so let's throw Shenmue in that just to see if we can make it more enticing. But that never developed into anything. And since then, no publisher really picked it up until, of course, it was the fans who picked it up with the Kickstarter to make Shenmue 3. But the original target of Shenmue 3 was $2 million. Just $2 million. And with that $2 million, how are we ever going to get a full Shenmue game? Well, Yu Suzuki would admit himself that the $2 million would have been creating the minimal of what he possibly could with what he thought Shenmue 3 would be. And he knew fans, all that we wanted really was, give us more of the story. We'll take a graphic novel. We'll take a manga. We'll take a book, just a book with the chapters. We'll digest it, talk about it, be happy that we're out of the cave just to get that book. But he actually gave us the opportunity to have a game. We paid for it, funded it, and they were able to read, along with support from other investors, almost $20 million for that game. So we got our Shenmue 3, but he made it for the fans. He made it to really entice the fans. But will that guarantee a Shenmue 4? Even the fans knew you need Shenmue 4 to be successful to the casual gamer. What's up, AT? Nice to see you and have you on the live stream as well, and everyone else who's watching. It's always a pleasure. I just wanted to make sure I acknowledge you guys. And definitely enjoy the fact that we're spending time together in this gaming in the dark session. And I'll definitely get to Fall Guys because it's a game that I've been playing, but it is part of my point. So we know that Shenmue 3 happened. It was made for the fans. Didn't turn around 360. It didn't turn around like a 180 for the franchise to make everyone adopt it. But Shenmue 3 was enough for us. So now Shenmue 4 in itself has to happen in a sense of, we already paid for the franchise. We already know there's a market to make money off of the fans. But can we open it up a little bit more? And I mentioned this in my last live stream, that in order to become successful, you need to pick up those casual gamers. And they tried it with online, but online obviously didn't work out. And the question is, what's the budget necessary for a good Shenmue 4? Now, in my mind, and I still believe this, in order for Shenmue 4 to be Shenmue 4, they need the largest budget that they've ever had to work with to really set vision what a truly successful Shenmue 4 that can pick up casual fans and still please us when it comes to a story perspective. Shenmue 4 needs at least $50 to $100 million investment, if not more. It needs to be developed on next generation hardware. We're talking Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, PC as well, because PC, a new video card was just announced by NVIDIA, RTX 3060 and that series, which is exciting. I definitely want to pick that up too. So if you're a PC gamer, you know what I'm talking about. But from that perspective, we want to use the expensive machines that we paid so much money for to their fullest extent in a Shenmue game and actually really be able to interact with every little thing, but have the world so expansive that you can just do anything you want, play the mini games that you want, that you've always wanted to play. Imagine a full arcade in Shenmue 4 that has Sega's license to play a slew of classic Sega games, not just Yu Suzuki games, but like when Sega owned the arcade world, when Sega at least had a large footprint in the arcade world. Not only that, but imagine being able to play games from third-party developers. So other developers that were around, Atari, Midway, though they filed for bankruptcy, but Midway games, Atari games, Capcom games in an arcade in Shenmue. Now that's would be amazing. And then to get funding and support to put those games on it, so it's like free advertising for those other third-party developers with their classic games into Shenmue. So that could potentially get some money off of it, but then also make the game more enticing. Now, Sega's not a stranger to that type of marketing, because if you remember the original Dreamcast Crazy Taxis, which I've spoken about before in video at length, you had a number of different companies, from Pizza Hut to Foot Locker to all these real life locations that advertised in the game, but it made the game more immersive. It made it that much more cool to play, because it's like, okay, these are real spots that we're going to that actually exist in today's world. So to have that licensing, put it in Shenmue, that could actually bring in a lot more possibly needed revenue, right? A lot more eyes to it, because if you have other gamers saying, hey, did you know this new game came out and you can play a bunch of arcade games in this game, but like a lot of cool ones, like a whole pack of games in like one or two or different arcades, so you have to look for them and find the different arcades in Shenmue. That in itself, just that one feature, would bring new eyes. Just like the fact that you can play one or two arcade games got my attention in the original Shenmue. That idea can still be used going forward with the right budget, and that's a lot of money. Alex says, just give us Virtual Fighter reskinned as Shenmue music and cinematic between each fight. That's another thing that could definitely be done. Again, I think the Sega licensing is so important in the Shenmue franchise. Sega's involvement in these games just matters, and they really need to be involved and not just say, okay, Yu Suzuki, here's a license, good luck, But I think we need other developers involved in it too, because it can help. And I don't know if that's even possible. It's just got to happen. I mean, at least that's what I want to happen. But again, that's not the point of this video. That's high budget. That's high budget requests for a really cool Shenmue game. I just gotta ask, is there any news of Shenmue 4? My last video, I talked about what I knew, but as far as Shenmue 4, I don't see anything, at least lately, going on with Shenmue 4. Now, I did mention that there was some news that we were supposed to get regarding the Shenmue franchise. I haven't seen it yet, so it is what it is. We're still waiting, but as soon as that comes out, I'm definitely going to make a video and share it with you guys. All right, so moving on to the next point. So I want a huge budget Shenmue, as we all do, but it doesn't need a huge budget. You can make a game. You can make a game for literally couple million dollars and be extremely successful. There's one game in particular that I wanted to mention that was successful, and to me it was a really immersive game, but it was very inexpensive to make. And I actually enjoyed it, and I had no idea it was this much, that it cost this much money. So I don't know if you guys ever heard of a game called, and I'm looking at my screen right here just to make sure I had the amount right. A game called Outlast. Outlast is a first-person perspective survival horror game where you just like use a camera to walk around, and you just gotta run and hide most of the game. I actually downloaded that game for free on PlayStation 4 in the early days of PlayStation 4 because it was with PlayStation Plus. So that was awesome. And when I experienced it, I'm like, this game is really cool. It's real cinematic. I really like it. It's a really great game. Then I found out the budget for that game. And that budget, let me look at it again because my memory's shot. That game was $1.36 million in Canadian dollars. So think about that. $1.36 million. And they came out with Outlast. That was a huge game. And of course, it develop sequels. That's less than the budget of the original Kickstarter goal for Shenmue 3. And they made a game that was immersive, interactive, and made headlines. The point is, all you really need for a good game is just a good game. It's simple. You know, it's honestly that simple. You just need that success. Now, to get that success, it's a bit random. I just got a question right here. Do you know how successful Shenmue 3 was? The only I know about Shenmue 3's performance is that it was one of the best performing software releases for the developer at the time for 2019 for that quarter. So it didn't meet expectations. They wished it did more, but it was still one of their best performing software titles. So from my perspective, it just takes it's how you look at it. If I wanted to sell 10 million, I guess 10 million Magnus t-shirts, and I sell 5 million, am I disappointed that I didn't sell 10 million? But 5 million? You're kidding me? I'm a millionaire at that point. So that's all that matters. What's going on, Bob? So from that perspective, Shenmue itself just needs to be a good game. So how do you make a good game with a limited budget as a sequel and hope to be popular? I think that Shenmue, in order to be good, has to have good arcade games, like I mentioned before. Hopefully they can get some third-party publishers to jump in, right? That shouldn't cost too much, especially if it's doing free advertising for them. But also make it story-driven and about awesome mini games that you can develop originally. Like just mini games that are just fun pick up and play games that you can play online with others. Imagine the Shenmue community being involved in Shenmue itself, and it doesn't necessarily need to be Shenmue Online. Like let's say you go to an arcade with Rio and there's a game there that you can play, and then that game itself you can play with someone else online playing Shenmue, and it becomes fun. Take this game that I've got next to me, for example. I'm looking at Fall Guys. So we're going to try a round of Fall Guys right now. I'll hit the button right here. And I'm going to play as Magnus. But picture this being a Shenmue minigame, because this is really simple. It's just little characters all playing online in a race. Shenmue has races. They have frog races. But imagine they developed a simple racing game that this game could have been a mini game in Shenmue. Fall Guys is incredibly successful. Incredibly successful. And apparently they're coming out with season 2, and it raised, I believe, $1 million off of donations. Just so some YouTubers donated $1 million to get custom costumes, and they're doing like 4 new custom costumes for this game just to do advertising in it. And this game is relatively simple, not graphically impressive, extremely multiplayer, and hugely popular. You're telling me that you can't put this game into Shenmue? Now I'm gonna try to do my best in this. I'm the pink character with his underwear out. So let's see how good I do. I'm not great in this. I'm definitely not great, but hey, I try my best in Fall Guys. But this mini game right here could have been Shenmue, and it would have been extremely successful. Extremely. And I fell, of course. But I would have loved to see mini games that gain the popularity of this game. and many other games that are out there. There are many games out there that honestly, come on. I'm just falling all over myself now. I was doing so well, but these guys just went all over me. Anyway, I qualify. Sorry for the distraction, but like my point is like it doesn't take a huge budget to make a successful game. But what can Shenmue do? Do you guys have any ideas as to what Shenmue can do to be as popular as, say, Fall Guys or anything like that? Or even the game itself, like gameplay mechanics can change. Develop the fighting engine a lot more entertaining. Develop a story arc that doesn't revolve around constant fetch quests and talk to this person, talk to this person. Though I enjoy that, a little bit more mystery would kind of be cool, but then that's being too particular as a Shenmue fan. It's just got to open up, make it easy. Make it so that people can do the story from different perspectives. All right, I don't even know what I'm doing. I didn't even pay attention. I've never played this game. Why do I have an egg? Why did I drop an egg? What? I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? I don't even know what's going on. And I have the game muted. I should have increased the volume. Where am I dropping it and why? Should I have dropped it somewhere else? Probably. Come here. The fact that we're arguing over eggs. I don't even know what's going on. I probably lost this, but I did not pay attention to the instructions. Hello. Looks like I got a Canon advertisement. I always get these notifications when I'm doing these live streams. Go away. Again, don't know what I'm doing, but all right then. What am I supposed to do? Fall Bay? Alright. Again, no idea what I'm supposed to do or why I can't get out of here. Give me this egg. Whose team am I in? Oh, I'm in the red team. Okay, now I see it. But too late. I guess I was too late. But I qualified. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Maybe you guys can hear me. Or hear the gameplay a little bit. Sorry about that. But I just completely get distracted with this stuff. So let's do like the next tournament thing in Fall Guys, and then I will get back to you guys. I've actually never done this good in this game. I just started playing it like a couple days ago. But any questions that you guys might have regarding Shenmue 3? I have played. Make sure you have a tail when the timer runs out. Got it. I have played the Yakuza series. I have a couple of the Yakuza games. In particular, I've never ever thought that it was fair to compare Yakuza to Shenmue, because I think that the two franchises were always meant to be different, and I don't think it's fair to compare a totally different franchise, you know, that has really nothing to do with, I mean, they seem similar and they have similar teams who developed them, but I mean, I played the first Yakuza and I'm reminded of the fact that Yakuza itself did not have like all the dialogue spoken from every NPC, which is something that I absolutely enjoyed in the original Shenmue. And it seemed a lot more streamlined, like straightforward than the other Shenmues. I mean, than the other games seem to be. Like it was like, okay, you have Yakuza here, and Yakuza, you can play these games and have these fights that are similar to Shenmue, but the games themselves are really not Shenmue. Oh, heck no. Come on. I lost. All right, that's fun. I made it all the way up until the end, and then I got knocked out because somebody decided to grab it the last second. That's such a bad way to lose. Grr, that's why I get frustrated. But then you want to play again, especially with these rewards that the game has and all of that. Imagine that in a Shenmue game. Now, I got addicted, totally addicted to the boxing game QTE title. Like, I was just on it for a while, and if you see my recent videos, you know that I was QTE title constantly. QTE. But it's a solo experience. It's an experience that, quite honestly, I shared it online with you guys, but it's an experience that has no community around it. You're by yourself in the game, in an arcade by yourself. You get the high score for yourself, and you're not sharing it with anybody. If it was a little bit more interactive, and it was a little bit more, I guess, community based for the different like side games, mini games, activities, even if it's not an expensive game, you can build an engine that revolves around a lot of online features. The original Shenmue had the Shenmue Passport that let you connect online and let you, I think it would connect to like even like Shenmue.com if I'm not mistaken at the time. But it also had like stories and information on the different NPCs that you would meet in the original game, which was awesome. It was just immersive. It was just something that you can experience, and experience not only by yourself but with others. And then especially if the game's fun, and brings a community together, forget about it. You just have a great time. And I think that Shenmue itself, and to kind of leave it off, Shenmue has one of the best communities that is just amazing when it comes to the knowledge, the history, and the passion for Shenmue. Now imagine, before I get into that, the number one thing that happens when a new Shenmue game comes out, because we all just experienced that on November 19th when Shenmue 3 was released, we all didn't talk to each other for a little while because we were all playing the game. We were all playing Shenmue 3. If we can change that in Shenmue 4 to where it's almost like, okay, I'm gonna play Shenmue 4. Here's my gamer tag, my gamer time and my best scores on these games. Come on, please jump on with me and we could all play together in some form of Shenmue. It doesn't have to necessarily be like Shenmue Online, but some form of like mini games, or let's all meet up in this room or like a side game to Shenmue that becomes so much fun that you can actually be your own NPC, not in the main storyline, but in the side game where you go to like common arcades or common like areas where you play these mini games or do bets, or somebody's at a lucky hit station where they want to actually get you to play lucky hit to see if you can get the high scores. And if they earn a lot of money, they can use that to buy, I don't know, outfits or costumes for Rio. But if we earn the money, we could do the same thing. Like so many interactive things that I don't think would need to be expensive, but could generate a lot of like cheesy excitement for the game. I'll give you another example. Call of Duty was mostly, for a long time, and we're talking years ago, had a great single player campaign. And then it started with having online features, of course, when online multiplayer really started taking off. But it had a great single player game. But people started loving it because of the online multiplayer, to the point where they were like, threw their hands up in the air and were like, might as well just make it online only, because no one's playing the single player game that we're busting our butts for. Me in particular, I actually like the single player game more than playing online, because I'm not great at first person shooters. Besides Unreal Tournament, I actually love Unreal Tournament. But you can just have that. You can have something similar take off, even though you have the main story for Shenmue that brings a lot of eyes to the game. And then we can actually finish the story the way it should be, with a large fan base all knowing about the Shenmue community. And no, you don't have to be the first game in your franchise to be successful, because there are many that are successful in their multiple iteration. Like I mentioned, Grand Theft Auto, it was the third. It was Grand Theft Auto 3. I don't believe that was the particular third Grand Theft Auto, because they had a different Grand Theft Auto London, then they had GTA 1 and GTA 2. So it might have been like the fourth Grand Theft Auto game before they actually made a huge amount of money, right? Even though the others were okay. Then you had Street Fighter 2, right? Street Fighter 2 became one of the best sequels of all time to ever be released, and it reinvigorated the arcade scene. You don't have to be the original to be the best, or to get people's attention. You just have to be a great game. And that's my point for today's video. So thanks for joining. AT Gaming, Yakuza is amazing. Again, nothing wrong with Yakuza in my perspective, except that it's different. If you go in expecting to play a Shenmue style game, you walk away disappointed, which is what initially had me disappointed. But then playing the Shenmue, playing the Yakuza games and taking that out of my mind as games independently, they're great. And a leaderboard for the wood chopping thing would have been cool. It would have been so cool, because I was up on that wood chopping. I was just trying to get like the best and highest score in that too, to get as much money as possible during the story. So to actually have a competition online that we can share that they never did was pretty sad. Oh, okay, not that sad. There are sadder things out there in the world, but just missed opportunities, and we didn't get it and understood with the constraints in time that they had for development, and the fact that it was just a game for us. They had to really limit it as much as possible. But if you want success, you don't need a large budget. Just take the time to make a great game, and I think that Yu Suzuki is going to provide that, which is super exciting. But that's all I got to say for tonight. It's getting kind of late, and let me just tell you guys, on a personal note, I had a very tough, frustrating, difficult day when it comes to dealing with personal situations. I've been very stressed lately, and a lot of work is part of it too. So finding a place to vent, and finally finding a place to kind of just have a conversation and just talk to you guys about this really makes a difference. I can't escape. Like, it's weird, because now that a lot of us spend time at home, and for those that have the extreme benefit of being able to work from home, which is a huge blessing in itself, don't get me wrong, I'm hugely grateful, but then I have trouble separating between home and like home relaxing and home working, and then it kind of drives my stress levels to all kinds of like chaos and craziness. And I've just been almost like, no matter what I do, I can't get it right, get my head right, get what I'm doing right, get my scheduling right, find the time to eat, find the time to pay attention to certain things. Everything is just all happening in the same place at once. So you almost always feel like you're not, if you're focused here, you're not focused here. And if you're focused here, you're not here, right? So you're distracted, and it just drives me crazy. But then the time that I get to be here with you guys, to just play a game, talk about games, relax, and not stress. I feel like this is where I belong. Like doing this right now is what takes the weight off. And then tomorrow I'll begin again, as we all do. So that's why I just want to thank you guys. Nice to see you, Axel Stone, and welcome to the live stream. I'm about to end it. I'm so sad that I'm seeing your comment near the end, but thank you guys again for helping me. You really help not only my self-esteem, but my energy. So tomorrow I have energy to do it again. I do not work retail, so kudos to you, Eater, for working retail. I hear it's very difficult out there. So again, I'm not trying to start a pity party to say, woe is me. I am beyond blessed. But we all have our ways of dealing with the pressures of every day. And I deal with it like this with you guys. And as long as I keep that smile on my face and keep pushing forward, and you guys stay positive too. And if anything's going on, always please feel free to leave a comment or reach out. I'm like one who just loves to talk, as I've done now, but loves to like understand where people come from, because my world may be just like this, but your world has its own issues and problems, and I accept and love everybody, because we all, as long as you're not hurting anybody, it's all good. Anyway, I guess I got a little too preachy right there, but as always, thank you, and thanks for everyone coming out. And one last comment, yeah, I'm gonna do those. That's actually my next video that I have. I'm going to, Game Sales Guy's gonna come back. He's had the store closed for a while because of obvious issues, but surprise reopening for him, and let's see what he comes up to. And stop hitting the microphone. Let's see what he comes up with next. But as always, you can make my day if you subscribe today. If you haven't already, definitely you should. Nice community. Good night. This is Magnus. I'm out. Game Sales Guy. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.